The following is a presentation of iRacing on PTR TV. We'd like to thank all of our channel partners for their support. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and we hope you enjoy today's broadcast.
You know, for some reason, Indy cars running around this track was never enough for anyone. We had to send NASCAR here for the Brickyard. And then for some reason, road course cars decided it was a better option for them to drive this track the wrong way around and throw 14 corners in the mix. And well, here we are. It's not the Indianapolis 500, it's not the Brickyard 400, but it's the Indy 60 today here with Elbows Out Racing that we're going to bring to you today. So welcome everybody in for the fun here of what I have deemed as the Indy 60. So it's going to be Brad Dalton here in the booth along with Andre, as always, bringing you all the action here from Elbows Out. Andre, good evening, my friend. How are you?
Yeah, we're doing good and definitely looking forward to seeing what these guys can do to navigate this road course. I always thought it was one of the most difficult road courses on the service just because it is so narrow in places. The corners are so tight. Turn one especially is a trouble spot. Long straightaway into a heavy braking zone. As we go on board, you get a better example of what this track really has to offer. A lot of chicanes. This right-hander is going to take you into a short chute, and then it's going to be a bit of a left-right complex right there, eating up the curbs. Very narrow chicane, very fast. Nothing to really slow you down. Then another long straightaway into a heavy braking zone, which is going to be the mortal enemy of these guys when they are in a pack. Left-hander, right-hander, so almost a chicane, a little bit too big to be considered, but man, oh man, it's just a tight layout. You get this right-hander here, and we're going to go off the track momentarily, and that's a pretty good example of how difficult this place can be, Brad.
Well, I was hoping that he would get a clean lap in there, Matt Toppin, because he's currently top of the timing charts. But as you can see, that was not to be had there for him as he went through. So as we get things going and moving and grooving here, this is always the fun time where things, really settle in. It's getting near the end of the season. So, and we're 10 weeks in. This is round 10 here on Elbows Out. And something I know we haven't covered as much here as we have a return of the Mac this week. Eric Mack setting a fastest lap and then immediately saying goodbye as the sun has graced us with its presence. I was just telling you right before we went live that it was a dreary day here in Sim, but no, they decided to make things nice and bright and sunny. But we haven't talked about points a lot here, Andre, and the thing I was looking at with that, looking through, so they run points and then they run the team standings as well and manufacturer standings, which they do run by manufacturers. So right now Acura is really heading the game in GTP, wouldn't you know it? BMW qualifies in pole and can never finish anything, and it's the same thing in Elbows Out. And then of course for the driver scores, Eric Mack, return to the Mac on top, and then Tyler Stanek and Christopher Ondera, your tops in GT3 currently.
Yeah, and as my feed was frozen for a minute there, I think you're going to see a lot of separation in the lap times. Right now it is very close for the GT3 pros, but this is a track that some of these drivers have already said themselves they're not very fond of. Some drivers, it's going to click with them a little bit better. And, it's not one of those places that is kind of universal, works out for everybody. New fast lap. Costa goes to the top of the board. In that 13 machine, it's a 1:18.2. 2 tenths ahead of Eric Mack in the 19, and then Garcia still P3, about a second back. Following along with Colin Bourdon. He works his way out onto this small oval section of the road course down the straightaway. It's actually the longer part of the oval section. I was a little bit confused as to where he was, but yeah, everybody posting their times. Brad, what are your predictions for this race? I mean, the weather is looking a little bit ominous, right? A lot of clouds, a lot of overcast. The track temp is low. The grip's going to be high, which means confidence is going to be high. But sometimes that confidence leads to issues.
Well, I can tell you my prediction right now, and I'm just going to say it in one camera shot as we follow along here with Ethan Murphy, who is running the oval here around, which is not always, the typical things here as he's going through Sector 2 and running around and having a good time, I have to say, for him. I'm going to go ahead and just show one camera shot here, and I'm going to allow this to speak for me. This is turn 1, turn 2. And this is the static cam for turn 1 to turn 2. And while if you don't know about turn 1 here in Indy, well, I was going to show you, but we'll give it a second here before I can show you, as there is actually only one driver on track. But yeah, turn 1, turn 2, as we look down the flag stand here, I'm trying to get a good shot of it. You notice there's no wall, there's no barrier here at turn 1. It's kind of just, you have those on the side, you just have those little brake markers on the fence, and that's it. So it's really hard to spot your braking point into turn 1, which means on a race start, I have a feeling that if we just sit at this wonderful turn 2 camera, we're going to see something real exciting.
Definitely a possibility. And again, Eric Wineland, familiar name. He's not raced in a few weeks, but he is back here for the Indy Road Course, getting some time in on the wheel of that GTP. His qualifying effort so far puts him P3 with a 1:19.7, about 1.2 off the pole. Costa still clinging onto that position, and with a minute and a half left, anybody on track has time for about one more lap, and then after that, it is going to be game over. Wherever you qualify is where you qualified, and then it is going to be on to the race. Somebody coming out here, Zachary Nerdy in the 31 in the Larson scheme, the HendrickCars.com scheme. Chevrolet, he's going to be trying to get a time in before the clock expires. We'll see if he can get there, but nonetheless, this is going to be one of those races, Brad. I'm not sure qualifying is going to matter too much. This is a track where the mistakes come very frequently. And so even if you start in the back, as long as you're patient, you might just see this race come to you. So obviously better to start up front, but game is not over. You're not dead in the water if you start a little bit further back.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. It's going to be a matter of just patience and surviving the 60 minutes, making sure you take all 4 tires at your pit stop. We saw that come back last week to bite somebody as they went through, and just making sure that you really nail everything through. I will say, Zachary Nerney has asked me to make sure everyone is aware that he's running both the Indy 500 and the Coke 600, hence the Larson scheme here. And also, this is Zachary Nerney that you're used to seeing in GTP. He has stepped down into the GT3 Pro category. That was a decision he made. I don't have the reasoning for why he made said decision, but he did. So that is going to be a driver to watch. Possibly going to be able to take on Paul Nye, the donut guy, this week and give a little bit of action as they go through. But that is going to be qualifying over here. That is going to set us up for a good old pace lap. We will get a full pace lap here, which is not what we'll normally get. And that will let us run through this grid really quick here as we go. So here is your lineup for round number 10 of Elbows Out. Antonio Costa up in pole with return of the Mac. Eric Mack back this week in P2. Eric Wineland in P3. Colin Bourdon in 4th. Aiden Garcia in 5th. And Matt Toppin in 6th. Bob Carey, Ben Bechtel, and Dwight Hibbs. I got to wonder if Bob Carey got his time resort sorted out after last week. As he was right beside Who was it he stuck with the whole time? I've blanked on that one now, Andre.
It was Dwight Hibbs and Bob Carey.
I wonder if they've gotten their stuff sorted out. If they decided who was paying the condo this week. So let's see. GT3 Pro category: Corey Allen, Callan Tobin, Brian Metterly, Ethan Murphy, Martin Merkva, and Zachary Nerney. Your top 6 here. Moving along: Patrick Rich, Daniel Pinero, Tyler Stanek, and Paul Nye Sr. Of course, Tyler Stanek, Paul Nye Sr., the winners in the GT3 Pro category, were not allowed to qualify. They will start from the back here. And then GT3 AMs, the lineup here, and I believe we are back to a stacked GT3 AM field this week, as we normally are. Emily Milk A, Nathan Hemperly, Parker Chiapuzzo, Kyle O'Grady, Seth Vosselman, Christopher Ondera, Andre Wedderburn, Andrew Parker, Matthew Santriciero, Jonathan Lanton, a late addition here to the GT3 AM field, and Lamart Pools, your 11 GT3 AMs here on the night. So we'll go through, we'll get our pace lap going here. And of course, remember that the GT3s have to leave about a 5-second gap to the GTPs as they pace down the field here. And we get the rare moment of a full formation lap.
Yes, a lot of pacing, a lot of time to contemplate the race ahead, which maybe isn't what these drivers want. They don't want to be thinking too hard about what is going to be coming. Because like I said, we talked to some of these drivers last week, and I think the general consensus was ominous. Again, I'm not saying it's going to be a bad race. It's just that this track is so difficult, and it is such a terror for some of these guys, especially traffic-wise. You know, we're looking at minute-and-a-half lap times, very quick laps. These GTPs are going to be seeing cars quite frequently in their windshield, and they don't got a lot of room to navigate them. So it'll be interesting for sure, but I think that little bit of a gap between the classes is going to be very important tonight. They're going to be thankful for that to get them at least a hopefully clean start. And then from there, it's up for them to decide kind of where they want to go. I do want to mention the pit road is pretty interesting on this track too. When the time comes to get your car serviced and make your mandatory pit stop, you kind of have to enter the pits coming out of the final corner of the track. It is a curved pit road entry onto the straightaway. And then when you exit, you're kind of exiting past turn 1. So it's not necessarily a complicated exit, but it is a very risky blend area. So you got to be very spatially aware when you do come out of the pits. So it'll be definitely something I would hope these guys practiced getting in and out of the pits and, you know, getting that figured out. I know the pit stalls as well on the Indy road course, because the pit stalls are painted for the oval race. They're not lined up properly when you're running the road course. So sometimes you'll be pitting and there's a white line right under the center of your car. So it's really sometimes difficult to figure out exactly where your stall is. So hopefully they are aware of that as well. You don't want to go too far and not go far enough. Now we're going into this right-hander under pacing. It's a short shoot, then a sharp left-hander hairpin. Look at this corner, Brad. What a turn that is. They're going to have to slow to a crawl. I think they had to slow down even under pacing to make it around that corner. And then a sweeping right-hander. They're going to be set free to the straightaway. A little bit of a banking transition that can catch you off guard if you're not careful, but I think these guys have the talent to deal with it. And green flag is out. Away we go. Race leader does not get any wheel spin, but behind, it's going to be a ton of wheel spin. And what is going on there? We're weaving back and forth. I almost thought he might have broke loose, but down into turn 1, it looks like the GTPs are going to get through cleanly. Now we're just waiting for the GT3s, the pros, and the amateurs. Can they get through this snaking set of turns? I think they're going to do it, Brad. They're able to get through clean. Paul Nye, you see towards the end of the field, he was in the middle of a 3 wide, but able to get through there no problem. And oh boy, I just saw a hood fly across the camera. I don't know who that was. I believe it was a GTP.
I did not see who that was at all. Let's keep an eye as I see Bob Carey is going side by side here with Ben Bechtel, going around and keeping a battle going and keeps moving and grooving. Ben Bechtel, Dwight Hibbs battling it out here this week. So we've got 3 cars battling very hard here in GTP, and it was Matt Toppin that you saw with the wreck in Well, that is a wrecked car. So once we get past the first lap, we'll go back and take a look there. As we've got up front here, this is Emily Milke that is currently leading all of the GT3s. And yes, that is a GT3 AM that is leading overall in your GT3s. And that is Corey Allen trying to chase behind, battling through. Tons of good battles happening here. Up front, Eric Mack has wiggled a bit here into the final corner, is trying to go. And that is Dwight Hibbs, who is sitting backwards on the exit of turn 14.
So Dwight Hibbs not going to be a tandem situation for him all race long, because he may not be finishing this thing out. We'll have to see if he gets back out on track. He did take a tow to the pits. In the meantime, Costa, Bourdon, Wineland in third, and then a relatively large gap to Garcia in the 799. Bob Carey in the 280 machine behind them. Still waiting on a replay for the incident there with Toppin. I do not know what happened to that brisk iced tea machine. I have to dial it up here on the PTR TV instant replay. Whatever happened, it was a whale of a hit, because the front of that car was gone. And that right there, Brad, that is what I was worried about. That chicane is so fast. You don't lift. You don't even breathe the throttle hardly. And when the car snaps sideways, there's no saving it. That wall sneaks up a lot quicker. It looks like there's a lot of runoff there, but it runs out. When you're going these speeds, you need a lot more room than that. So we had another incident with the GTPs. The PlayStation machine, the number 4, that's why he was in the pits.
Dwight Hibbs
and
there.
That is going to be huge, huge damage for Mr. Hibbs. He is going to be probably sitting in that pit stall for quite a while. Another replay, GT3's turn 1. This track is definitely doing what I thought this track was going to do. That incident, he got away lucky. The number 79 machine got spun out, lost some time, but compared to some of the fates we've seen, Brad, that was relatively tame.
Yeah, indeed. Chris Frondera getting away with that one there. Plenty of things happening all through the field here as we go. Bob Carey, Ben Bechtel currently battling it out. So they will try to keep things moving and grooving for them and just keep some pressure going while they can as they continue along here and keep things competitive here in the background as they go. Plenty of battles happening already, but I will say drivers also understand that this is a long race, so they do sort of need to breathe for a second, I'd say, and really relax in for the full 60-minute event, which they tend to do a really good job of, is Bob Carey and Benjamin Bechtel. I do apologize. I like to shorten Benjamin's name to Ben, as I do know a Benjamin who goes by Ben in real life. So that's a force of habit for me. I've gotten better about it as the season went on, I will say, but every once in a while, I do catch myself slipping up on that, but he's managed to get past Bob Carey there in the back of the GTP field.
Yeah, Bob Carey getting a little bit of wheel lock up there. You're going to see that a lot. Easy mistake to make. He's not the first. He will not be the last. You are going incredibly fast at the end of the straightaways, and the brakes can be really sensitive on these GTPs. So he's going to lose a little bit of time there, but overall, able to navigate that chicane. And a little bit further up the road, we got a bit of a battle brewing here. Eric Mack in that 19 versus apparently Eric Mack. No, it's Aiden Garcia and Aiden Garcia. So, no, these graphics not correct. It is Eric Mack and Aiden Garcia.
There we go.
A lot closer going into that section. They lost a little bit of time to each other, and now they're able to breathe onto this short oval section before the right-hander getting into that short chute before the hairpin. Go ahead and watch them navigate this corner. It starts out kind of wide, and then the corner just tightens up so much, and you got to swing wide for the following corner as well. So complicated section of the track, and I'll tell you what, I think Eric Mack got through there a little bit better. He was able to recoup some of the time that he lost. About 3 car lengths, I think he made up through there, Brad. So the technical portions of the track he seems to be thriving on, and you get to this straightaway, Slipstream pulls him up even closer. But this section of the track, this seems to be where Garcia shines, this little bit faster portion of the track. He's able to take these sweeping corners really well. And as I say that, Eric Mack is kind of keeping pace. We'll stay on board for this quick chicane, the left-right complex. And again, Garcia pulling away a little bit. This is his sector of the track.
Indeed. And as he comes through here, I mean, just watch as he's trying to find a move. He's looking good right there, a little bit faster, I would say, but just not able to lock things in there on Garcia. Eric Mack there in the Kohler machine behind, just trying to keep things moving and grooving there, having a pretty good time of it, I'd say, as he continues along. Keeps the battle pretty consistent, pretty steady, but it's just the matter of locking it in, which is easier said than done as he continues along and keeps this one going. Let's see here. Checking in on some other battles on the track to keep an eye on. We do have a battle for P2 in GT3 Pro, as we'll get your full GT3 Pro and AM field pulled up here on the leaderboard as they currently stand. So that is how they separate. But what's interesting, again, it's a GT3 AM of Emily Milke that is currently leading all of these cars here, with Corey Allen trying to chase about 0.6 of a second behind. And then you have Callan Tobin, Brian Metterly, and Martin Merkva, the three on your screen here battling.
And a good battle it is. And this is going to be the second week in a row we've seen an amateur up here dicing it up with the leaders and maybe with the pros, and maybe even showing them up a little bit. So we will have to follow along with that storyline as Callan Tobin, Brian Metterly, Martin Merkva. Martin's looking for a good race. He ran really good the first couple weeks of the season, really showed he had a lot of pace, and I feel like he's not had that same pace recently. I don't know if the car is not agreeing with him. I don't know if it's the tracks, but I do know Martin's a talented driver, and he's not quite getting the results that I think would reflect that talent. So we'll see if he can get a recovery run tonight, battling for the podium. Not a bad position to be in. This could be the momentum he needs to get that ball rolling. This battle continues. Really aggressive there is the Chevrolet. Ford leading the way. And, you said it last week, Brad. The Ford is a monster on the straightaways. That Mustang will pull away on any long stretch of the track. But you get to these technical sections, and he's struggling, So if you're in his situation, what do you do to defend?
It's very hard. That is the one thing I will say, is it's very difficult. But when I am the car in front here, if I am going through, my decision as Callan Tobin is to just do as much as I can. I mean, and that sounds sort of counterintuitive and simple to say in that regard of, well, do as much as I can. But I mean, you've got straight line pace, so use it. Use what's at your advantage and do what you can here. As we see there, Brian Metterly in the 46 behind, trying to look for a move up the inside, going to go for the move up the inside. Is this the pass through turn 2? It's not, because outside turns to inside, or inside turns to outside, turns to inside. Now that Mustang needs to hold on through the corners, try to work the long way around, but that 46, just enough grip, and Brian Metterly will get that second place in. So that is all important there for him to get that through.
Yeah, it definitely is. And this is a track where I think the Mustang is going to have a tough roll as he's going to get to the bumper. He actually gave him a shot going into that corner. I thought that would have been enough to get him sideways, but he was able to hold on to it there. Metterly doing a great job taking that bump in stride and not letting it get him unsettled there. But yeah, this is not a track that suits the Mustang. Very tight, very technical. Only place on the track that it's going to really thrive is right here. Well, no, not right here. The other oval portion of the track that's coming up after this hairpin is where he's going to have some speed, but that's just one part of the track. The rest of the lap, he is just on defense, and everybody else, especially the Chevrolets and the Porsches and all these other manufacturers that are a little bit more nimble, they're able to get through these chicanes and these twisting turns with a little bit more grace. But there you can see there is the power of that Mustang slowly making up ground and then into the braking zone. It's going to go back to Metterly once they get to this portion. Martin Merkva is well there in the background, but tell you what, these three, I think this might be another. Oh boy.
And that
incident going through turn 1.
Patrick Rich, who is currently off trying to get his Mustang around and go through. We'll get a replay dialed up of this one really quick and see what happened here. So following with Patrick Rich, and well, the answer was they tried to go 3 wide into turn 1. So let's go here. And this is Patrick Rich, Paul Nye, and the number 151 there was involved as well, of Andre Wedderburn. So that is what caused that one. And we'll go on board here with Patrick Rich. I mean, just right in the middle. He's in the sandwich, and this is turn 1. There's really nothing you can do about it when you're in turn 1 that way.
No, there's not a whole lot you can do to come back from that at that point. But either way, he's going to have to get back on the blacktop, see what he can make up time-wise, because he's not going to be the only one. We've seen a lot of mistakes tonight, and I don't think we've seen the last of them. So in a way, it's kind of encouraging to these drivers, as bad as that is to say, because they know, hey, look, I lost some time. I made a mistake, but it can come back to me. And I know that I'm not going to be the only one. So speaking of mistakes, was that Paul Nye? No, it was not. That was another GT3 cutting through the grass there. I just seen a white hood there. Somebody went through the grass, but I couldn't quite make out who. Either way, Paul Nye kind of in his own little world there, P5 in his division.
I want to say it was Andrew Parker for some reason.
I believe you are correct. That might be the car.
Let's see here. Dial up a real quick replay in a different style of what we normally do. And yeah, no, a Lamborghini is a lawnmower. Who would have thought?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's low enough to the ground for it, so.
But is it golf course quality cuts? I got to wonder, is that a putting green cut? What sort of cut is that here?
I'd say that's the semi-rough, the fringe maybe.
I could see that as we go back. This battle, here's the thing. There's always a battle that I know we're going to be watching every race, right? Like, that's just sort of the nature of this series. There's always a battle that we're going to be watching. I think I found it already for this race. It's this battle right here for second in GT3. I think this is just going to go along the whole time.
It could. It's been going on for quite a while. Although I will say Brian Metterly starting to put some distance between himself and Callan Tobin in that Mustang. Martin Merkva as well, kind of trapped behind that number 923, not quite able to get around him. But if these two continue battling, that's going to be good for Metterly. But he's still got a big gap himself to get up to the leader if he wants to get there at all. It is a 3-second difference between P1 and P2 at the moment. So we will have to wait and see if they can make that up. If they can't do it on the track, maybe on strategy. We do still have the obligatory pit stop coming up down the road. And in the meantime, these guys still just trying to survive the Indianapolis road course and get as many points as they can in doing so. This battle here, Seth Fosselman, Andre Wedderburn, they are nose to tail, dealing with a little bit of a GTP, trying to break up the battle. Excuse me, ma'am, wham, bam, going to go through. And it looks like Eric Mack is going to get through the traffic, no problem. But he did kind of check these guys up just enough to make the battle a little bit better here, side by side through one corner, nose to tail in the next. And another GTP going to follow him through. And that was a bit of a tight fit. I'm not sure the GT3s were ready for that full send through there. But now into this right-hander. Look at this side by side. Bosselman trying to make it happen, and into the braking zone. This is making me nervous, Brad. They are so close in these braking zones. I feel like somebody's going to get the shunt, but they've kept it clean so far, doing a phenomenal job.
Oh, it's making you nervous. It's making me nervous to sit here and watch, because then what's opened up with these two as they've came through? Well, now you also have Matthew Santorciero there. Side by side we go between Vosselman and Wedderburn, and down into turn 1, that 151 of Wedderburn is going to get the pass on the 143. 143 is going to try to fight him back, though, and all the while, Matthew Santorciero is trying to just stay in the mix of this and just really come through. Side by side we're going to go as they decide to swap it back there. And now it's Wedderburn ahead of Vosselman, ahead of Santorciero, and then down through goes Benjamin Bechtel, getting his run through that GTP car and having a very clean run of it. Up front here, Martin Merkva, Callan Tobin, and Nathan Hemperly. Nathan Hemperly is a GT3 AM, but they are battling it out here at this point as they go for overall battles. still trying to find their way through. So we got plenty of action all through this track as the field has started to mingle. And I don't know if you noticed there, but Martin Merkva on that front right has some pretty serious damage as we see the 32 of Martin Merkva try to make a move there. Callan Tobin is the one in the Mustang there in that Ruger Mustang, as Nathan Hemperly in the Porsche is just trying to follow along and kind of see what he could see, do what he can do.
Yeah, riding on board with that number 12, Nathan Hemperly. Staying in the tire tracks, keeping a good distance here. He's staying with them, but if he loses much more time, he's going to be out of the slipstream distance. That is not going to be good. 2 straightaways on this track provide an opportunity for that, and if you lose it, that is time left on the table. As we look back to some GT3s, Eric Mack working his way through them if he can, but it's just a conveyor belt. Tons of GT3s, all single file. That is a tough situation to navigate, as you get around one and there's just more down the road immediately. And some of the cars he's getting to are the cars we've been following with this battle. Martin Merkva, Brian Metterly, these two continuing to race nose to tail. Eric Mack has to be a little bit conservative on corner entry. He knew he couldn't make the overtake there to get that lap car around, but now onto the oval portion, he's able to open up that throttle. He is going to go by on the inside, and I believe that may have been Callan Tobin getting in the wall there. I'm sorry. Yeah, Martin Merkva getting in the wall, I should say. Lost some time there. Somebody scraped the outside wall. There's a lot of same color car out here, and I'm looking at about 240p, but they did lose some time. This battle continuing. Callan Tobin P3. The leader continuing to drive off into the sunset. And up front for GTP, you're not missing anything, ladies and gentlemen. 10 seconds the difference between Antonio Costa and Colin Bourdon. Huge gap between them. And then Eric Wineland, another 5 seconds down the road. So not a whole lot of pressure for those guys, just the pressure of navigating the track and navigating traffic. But other than that, so far, so good.
And as they come through, they continue to battle this along. I mean, at this point, it's all about just the consistency and keeping it together and running your race as best you can, which, again, is easier said than done here, as Tobin is trying to just make sure that Martin Merkva can't get past, but also trying to allow Aiden Garcia there in the Acura GTP to snake his way through as Aiden goes. Again, up front, as you said, Andre, Antonio Costa, the gap is 10 seconds. I mean, it's not even like, I don't know. It's just, this is a ridiculous speed going through and just a ridiculous run, I have to say, as he continues to run his way through there in the Cadillac. I mean, just having the time of his life.
Yeah, it's been a really good run. Anytime you can walk away with the lead is a good time. And it seems to be a reoccurring trend with these GTPs, really week in and week out, Brad. Whoever figures out the track, whoever really just has it click for them, tends to drive away with it, and there's not much the rest of the field can do. It's been a while since we've seen a true battle for position for the lead in the GTPs. But the GT3's putting on a battle either way.
Just riding on board here with Colin Bourdon, and just you kind of see that 11-second gap continuing to sort of show itself here as we go here through turn 1, 2 into 3. I mean, just keeping this moving and grooving here, and just keeping this along. I mean, you do what you can whenever you are the GTPs to just sort of stay smooth and consistent, because that is where things really make a difference and show things out here as we go along and watch through. But at this point, I mean, the drivers, I mean, even Eric Wineland, I mean, this is a 16-second gap to the leader between Eric Wineland and the leader as he goes to the car ahead. I mean, it's about 6 seconds. So you just continue to sort of watch them try to build that battle out as they can and, just run things around. And I mean, at the end of the day, it'll come to them or it won't. And again, when pit stops start here soon, that'll change everything. And guess what? As soon as I say when pit stops start, what has started? Well, we have our first pit stop coming in.
So the GT3 division is going to be the first one to take their stop. GTP's still out on track, but right here is getting that car serviced. That is Andre Wedderburn in the 151. Goes up on the jack stand. They are going to go ahead and they are going to take tires. As I learned a couple weeks ago, the tire change is mandatory, so it'll get some fresh tires on there, full load of fuel, and away they will go. Matt Toppin back on the track after that huge incident. Lap 1, ripped the front end of the car off. I don't know who his mechanics are, Brad, that were able to essentially rebuild the front of that car in 22 minutes. But whoever they are, they need a pay raise because that car should not be back on track.
You know who else is on track? Dwight Hibbs. So Dwight Hibbs is back as well. I will tell you right now, the fact that Matt Toppin is running in Cadillac Racing, that's about all I have to see. I know Cadillac Racing is good here. As we go back to Martin Merkva in the McLaren, 0.2 of a second separates Martin Merkva and Callan Tobin here, continuing to battle along as we watch down the inside. Goes Merkva trying to get the pass on the Ford. Not able to get that pass done yet, as we're already 24 minutes in here to the race, and we continue to watch these battles just sort of increase in intensity as they stand.
Yeah, Martin Merkva, Callan Tobin, they have been together this entire race and a little bit wide on corner exit, getting some wheel spin there. Callan Tobin almost opened up the door, but Merkva just a little bit too far behind to make anything of it. He's going to have to remain where he was, which is in the tire tracks of the Mustang, and getting out onto the straightaway, open it up all the way down to that heavy braking zone. Lap times, Callan Tobin lost a little bit there. It was 0.3 slower, and now down to the bottom goes Merkva in contact to the quarter panel of the Mustang. They're going to go side by side, and there is going to be a benefactor here.
All Nye.
Look at this. All Nye able to get through thanks to the carnage. That's going to be one position up on the board, maybe two if he can get to that Mustang. I know that Metterly is going to be dealing with some, or Callan Tobin, I should say, going to be dealing with some damage after that incident. We saw the body panels fly off. GTP is working their way around. Now to the bottom again is going to go Martin Merkva, but not close enough that time. I tell you what, I would not have expected Merkva to be the loser in that situation after that contact. I really thought he was damage-free, but looking at the pace starting to go away through these corners, he might have bent something on the front end of that car when contact was made because the Mustang maintaining his pace. On board here with Dwight Hibbs, looking back at Matt Toppin. These two drivers not racing for position and
oh no, they
on
are
the lead lap. Trying to. Oh, they are on the same lap. I didn't know they came out at the same time.
Yeah, they came out. I just caught that. I was getting ready to say it here when we cut on board. They came out at the same time, which I didn't realize. So they are in a battle for position as they drove through Tobin, Paul Nye, and Merkva. That was all just one big battle for multiple positions out of nowhere.
Look at that. Paul Nye able to get around the outside, and that is going to be one more on the board. Back to the podium for that number 1 Chevrolet. Boy, oh boy, I cannot believe the time he has made up. He's only got 5 seconds up the road to Metterly, and then from there it'll be 7 seconds to Corey Allen. I don't know if he can make that time up in 30 minutes, but never say never. You never know. And, you know, pit stops could shake things up, and in this league especially, we haven't had any dramatic finishes in a while, but the first few weeks, Brad, it was like whoever had the lead going into the last lap almost didn't want it because it seemed like something was happening to the leader every race. They were having some sort of misfortune, no matter what division, no matter what track, but that trend has luckily died down. It's been a little bit more consistent for these guys, but still, you never know. Racing is racing. In the meantime, a podium not a bad place to be. Another battle brewing. These two find each other again, and I would imagine they're driving with a little bit of heightened tempers back there, Brad, as it looks like the Mustang has fallen back to Merckville once again. So hopefully second verse not going to be the same as the first.
Yeah, you're telling me that. 5 cars currently battling for P3 in GT3 Pro down on the bottom right there. Paul Nye Sr., Callan Tobin, Martin Merkva, Tyler Stanek, and Zach Nerney. Of course, Zachary Nerney running the 600 and the 500 all in the same weekend here, hence the dedication to Kyle Larson doing one of the big things, or Tony Stewart, as we talked about earlier there, Andre, the more better-known driver who should be known better for doing that. More pit stops coming in here, and as you can see there on the right-hand side, pit stops lighting up the timing tables. It's return of the Mack here with Eric Mack in the pits going through. Corey Allen currently trying to get a battle going with Emily Milke here. This is for the overall GT3 lead. Very important battle to watch going through for them as they go. Hemperly and Wedderburn are also in the pits in GT3 AM. But this battle right here, we haven't covered it a lot. It's the Pfaff liveried McLaren against the Porsche as we go, and there goes Dwight Hibbs still battling it out with Matt Toppin. You can see that gap is separated though, as this again is your battle for GT3 overall for the lead. It'd be P10 overall, but it's both GT3 positions.
That it is, and it's a very close battle as they are working their way through this sweeping right-hander right up on the curb, using up every inch of the track. Corey Allen doing what he can to maybe make a move on Melke. Again, Emily Milke leading the amateur division and leading ahead of all of the pros. And it looks like the pro is going to dive down to the bottom. Can they get the move done? No, Brad, they are not close enough. So it looks like Corey Allen going to have to wait for another opportunity. Not every day you see a battle like this between the two different divisions, but alas, here it is. Man, oh man. And I really did not think these two would find each other. Corey Allen was quite a ways behind Emily, but as the race has gone on, we're about halfway through this thing, he just kept chipping away at it. I think he's got the faster car, might have the better lap times, but you know what? He said, if I can't get around you on the track, then I'm going to try to do it in the pits. So he unexpectedly dives down into the pit road entry. That is going to get that car serviced, and we'll see how Emily responds if they're going to come down pit road at the very next lap and try to get it over with, or maybe they stay out a little bit longer. Have to wait and see. But Corey Allen, it's been a flawless race so far for the McLaren, and we'll see if he can keep that up. In the meantime, there goes Paul Nye. He's not taking that car down pit road. He's still sitting P2 in his division as Tyler Stanek behind him. Callan Tobin is in the pits in that 923. Opportunity to get a little bit of that damage fixed up. If you look at that right front fender and the right rear quarter panel, really the whole right side of that car got dinged up. The Lone Star on the right-hand side, that didn't get dinged up, thankfully, but everything else did, Brad.
Yeah, it did, and we're going to check a replay really quick because I've got a replay that something happened to Callan Tobin here. Let's dial it up and see what Callan Tobin did as we go. So this was Callan Tobin coming through, and, well, there was that. We've seen that more than once today for Callan Tobin, and then Callan Tobin just kind of taking Callan Tobin's own route, and Callan Tobin getting a black flag from that, actually. So Callan Tobin having to serve quite a bit of time. Dwight Hibbs, this was Dwight Hibbs just now when we cut to replay. And let's see what happened with Dwight. Dwight there, well, looks like that's a very lazy Susan-style spin there on exit. I don't know what that spin was about, but not ideal at all for Dwight, and just stuck there on the straightaway. It looks like maybe just lightly tapping the wall going through. And then Nathan Hemperly had a moment. What happened with Nathan here in the GT3 AM category? Well, Nathan and Tyler Stanek came together there and had to just take some avoiding action. Colin Bourdon here, second place in your GTP category. That was just a hard wiggle through. A couple more random moments we've missed. Ben Bechtel, last one here, and Ben Bechtel just misjudging the corner there, running wide. But Ben Bechtel, as we come through, is just now coming out of the pits with a 24-second pit stop. About what we're expecting for everyone is we have now Dwight Hibbs into pit lane. Not on purpose, though.
No, definitely not on purpose. That was unfortunate. And Dwight has had quite the eventful night, we'll put it that way. And he's trying not to go over that line because, Brad, if he does, that's going to be an extra penalty. So, he's already lost enough time going laps down, getting damage repaired, and then getting spun sideways there. He tried to save himself the penalty of not cutting out onto the track, but, I think he might have still got one. It was really close over that line. I'm not sure what exactly the virtual iRacing stewards will have to say about that. They tend to be a little bit finicky sometimes. Here comes Emily responding to the pit stop from Corey Allen. 876 machine going to stop down in their stall. Their not very centered stall, thanks to the way these pit boxes are painted, but either way. I don't know if you can tell that bothers me, Brad, but got to keep mentioning it.
It frustrates me. Don't worry. I will share in your frustration on that one. It's a very annoying thing to me for some reason. I can't explain it, but it really is probably my least favorite thing about this road course. And this is a road course that doesn't get ran a lot, to be honest with you, when it's all said and done. I don't feel like this course itself gets shown a lot of love outside of the Indy 500 and the Brickyard 400. I don't tend to see a lot of drivers really willingly wanting to run it here as they go, but they do. But it doesn't mean that they want to. If you're picking up what I'm putting down here in the booth.
Yeah, no, I definitely pick it up. Paul Nye going to come down pit road, and tell you what, he's coming in pretty hot there. He was not playing it as conservative on the pit access road as some of these guys have, so he may actually stand to gain some time. In the meantime, Brian Metterly, it's been a good race for him so far. He is going to inherit the lead, has not come down pit road, and the GTP off the track right in front of him. He's able to get around him without any contact, but that was very, very close.
Who was that?
Man, that was a purple GTP. I believe it may have been, is that Bechtel?
Was it Bechtel?
No, it was not Bechtel. It was...
I mean, I just went through. There's
another
not another
purple...
Was it? It was Colin Bourdon. There we go.
Yeah, there we go.
And Colin Bourdon has now towed to pit lane for... Well, you can see it there. Just the rear end has a bit of damage. Not ideal. But Bourdon will drop down the order as Emily Milke is now out. And guess what? Emily is actually, I believe, on pace to probably take on Corey Allen. Corey Allen right there ahead by a couple tenths. So Corey was able to get the undercut, actually. Or the overcut.
Yeah, that seemed to work pretty well. He does take the advantage. And again, I think Corey, I don't think it mattered when he pit, whether he took the undercut or the overcut. What mattered is that he cycled out into clean traffic, because on his own, when he's got nobody ahead of him, I think he is a little bit faster than Emily. And that was shown by the fact that he reeled them in, and then once he got to the back of the car, it just stalled out. The pace was gone, and oh no, big blink for Corey Allen. That is not what you want to see. For a minute, I thought he got DQ'd there or sent out due to connection, but thankfully he's back in the session. I think he's got the speed, and he just needed to cycle out clean, as I was saying, and he did. So he's got the overall GT3 lead, and he's got open road ahead of him, but Emily's not going to let him get away with it. I mean, they're still right there.
Yeah, keep the battle going down the main straight. This is going to go on for the final 20-ish minutes of this race here. Wineland's now been into the pits. going through. Of course, Bourdon has towed and is still in the pits getting damage repaired. Dwight Hibbs has been in the pits for an extended period. Andre Wedderburn and Lamart Pools are both out of this race. So that's technically our only 2 DNFs here on the night, as we still have several cars left to pit. Aiden Garcia, Bob Carey still need to pit in GTP, and then in GT3s, it's Brian Metterly and Tyler Stanek in the pros, and Kyle O'Grady and Seth Bosselman in the AMs, as Chiapuzzo will currently be the next car to come out of the pits, as Ethan Murphy and Chiapuzzo will swap positions here going around as they battle through. And well, that goes to show you the difference in your pit exit. Chiapuzzo trying to get past Ethan Murphy, and Ethan Murphy doing a good job of just getting ahead. Now needs to stay ahead on those fresh tires, which in a GT3 is much easier to do than in a prototype car.
Yeah, sometimes it's a little bit easier, but not always the case. O'Grady into the pits. Kyle in that number 8 is going to get that car serviced. See where he can cycle out, as only 23 minutes remain. Only a few holdouts remain. For the most part, everybody has pitted. Aiden Garcia has not come down pit road, though. He inherited the lead, and he's not looked back. We'll see how much of a time differential there will be once he does take that stop. Seth Bosselman involved in quite the battle earlier tonight. He's going to come down pit road in that 143. Jack stand goes up, and those are Goodyear tires, Corey or Brad. I almost called you Corey again, but those are Goodyear tires, so at least it looks like it. Or are those? What are those?
You know,
we had this debate last week. We decided they were probably Michelin's, but those don't look like Michelin logos to me.
Those are P0s, so those are Pirellis.
Pirellis. Okay.
Well, hold on.
So they got Pirellis out there.
I'm now beyond confused. Okay, well, I thought slow-mo would give that to me, but it won't as we cut back to live pictures. But no, technically those should be Michelin's. Really is what they should be, but I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Somebody's going to correct me somewhere on what tires are on these cars. But yeah, that said Pirelli P0. I'm officially confused as Metterly is there. Yeah, that's Pirelli P0, plain as day. All
right, so we've got Pirellis. Makes sense to me. The debate is settled from last week. We were wrong. It is not Michelin's, but he is going to get 4 fresh Pirellis on that number 46 machine, and away he will go.
That sounds
and with
so
that,
wrong.
There is just a few cars left. Again, Aiden Garcia really stretching this thing out. He does not want to come down pit road. He is enjoying the lead that he has. And Eric Wineland, maybe he's been drinking some wine, getting that lockup a little bit too deep into the corner, giving up some time, but able to keep it on the blacktop overall and make a bit of a recovery here. Still got some GT3s to deal with, but overall not a bad situation he finds himself in. Currently sitting P4.
You know, that's the one nice thing about turn 1. Turn 1 is very weird, but you do kind of get the benefit of that little bit of runoff. But I tell you what, Emily would have been very mad in that situation because, of course, Emily's still battling it out with Corey. And for Emily, car behind, just, you know, GTP's coming through and they lock up the brakes, and then you have to react to that, and then that opens up the door to Corey Allen. So not going to be ideal there going through, but we'll continue and keep this battle going as you see Dwight Hibbs there in the background, back out, running about 5 laps down right now to Andrew Parker, is about 8 laps down to Matt Toppin, who is in P8 in class. 8 laps down to Matt Toppin, who's P7 in class, as it's actually Colin Bourdon who is P8 in class there. Colin Bourdon currently still sitting in the pits and has been for about 7 minutes as they go through. Still have Tyler Stanek, Matt Toppin, and Aiden Garcia left to pit here. 20 minutes left to go in this race, and I think the race leader heard me talk and said, you know what? Yeah, this is the time. I got to pit in. 4 tires, fuel. I've gotten this GTP as far as it can go here on the limited fuel set. We'll bring it through, and we'll get the pit stop done here as Corey Allen and Emily Milke continue to battle it out here. And with 19 minutes left to go, the majority of your pit stops done. We're going to step aside for just a moment as we do, and I think there's nothing more appropriate to do, honestly, at this point than allow you to enjoy the McLaren as we go for some temporarily loud engines here on PTR TV. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you've enjoyed your time with some temporarily loud engines. Now that the engine sounds are there and the appropriate level of loudness, like they may or may not have been when the green flag dropped. As we go through and we continue along here, it's myself, Brad, joined by Andre, as always, here for this round of Elbows Out, round number 10 of their 12-round season. We're on board with Emily Milke, who is currently leading the GT3 AM category. And yes, we rode on board with the GT3 Pro category leader of Corey Allen, who is right there in front of you. So this battle has continued to rage on through the day, and they're pretty well stuck where they're at. Lots of gains, lots of winners and losers throughout this race, and some of our biggest positions gained. I got to say, Paul Nye, the donut guy, imagine, up 8 places here on the day and is continuing to find positions as he goes through. But he's got Brian Metterly for some close company there in third, trying to gain second, gap half a second, and will continue to compress. And then I do also want to give a shout out to Tyler Stanek, who's right behind them, who's up 5 places. Biggest loser of the day, I kind of hate to say it, but it's Callan Tobin in the Mustang, who had a black flag there for some lawn care in the Mustang through turns 1, 2, 3 and cut the course. And dropped 6 positions as a result, was battling it up for the podium places, is now kind of just stationary here as we go through. And Andre, with about 15 minutes left to go, this is the point where drivers really need to be, kind of getting the proverbial and literal elbows out and pushing it to the end of this race.
Yeah, it's definitely go time. 13 minutes remaining, but problem is, for some of these divisions, where do you go, Brad? I mean, Eric Mack, currently P2 in GTP, 20 seconds is the difference. I mean, yeah, you want to push, you want to click off quick laps, but you're not going to make that time up. You could be a second faster per lap at this point, and you're not going to make that time up before the end of the race. So really, you just kind of have to hope that something happens to the leader and be consistent while you wait. And I mean, the same thing could be said about the amateur division. Nathan Hemperly, P2, he's having a good race. He's actually involved in a battle with Parker Chiapuzio back there for P2, but Emily is 30 seconds up the road. So, I mean, that's about a quarter of a lap for them, which is just absolutely obscene. It's a huge lead. The closest division right now is Corey Allen, Paul Nye, 1 and 2 for the GT3 Pros. Still a 6-second difference, which is not insignificant. It's go time, but a lot of these guys don't have anywhere to go.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that's kind of interesting because, track position is one of those things that is really important, and it goes to show, though, that sometimes if you don't qualify well from the jump, you just have a bad day to begin with. Now, qualifying I don't think was as important today, as you said, but the drivers, again, they kind of surprised me. They got through turn 1 a lot cleaner than I was expecting as they went through, so I wasn't expecting turn 1 to kind of go as uneventful as it did, as Tyler Stanek, Brian Metterly here battling it out, and Stanek able to get ahead, now up into the podium places of GT3 Pro, a place that it doesn't surprise me to see that red chromed out Mustang as they continue along here, now trying to chase down Paul Nye Sr. Gaps 3/4 of a second as your race leader there, Antonio Costa, is trying to lap through the field and continue along the field here. Antonio, for the next 11 minutes, really can afford to be patient like this and sit behind the GT3s that sometimes are faster through corners, but it's the straightaway where you can pull out pace like this. And I mean, just look at this, just meow, see you later. But the thing is, he can afford, if he gets stuck behind a GT3, to stay behind a GT3 for a corner or two. It's not a big deal because he's got that much of a gap.
Yeah, I mean, he can just take his time. Eric Mack, I think, is gaining a little bit here and there, but it doesn't really matter that much because Costa is probably in coasting mode as he was last week. I mean, just a huge lead for that 13 last week, a huge lead again, and actually I was wrong. He is not gaining. Eric Mack is actually continually losing time. He lost a second on lap 34. He lost half a second lap 35, and then another second on 36. So it is definitely not looking too good for the 19, although still a good point stake P2. Now this battle right here, Tyler Stanek, Paul Nye, these two have seen each other a few times this season, and it looks like the Mustang of Stanek is going to take that position back. Put Paul Nye down to 3rd place. And Paul's not going to let it happen laying down. He's going to get back to the inside. It's going to be outside to inside here through the hairpin. Getting on the throttle hard, able to keep it side by side, but unfortunately going to have to give that position up. Didn't quite get the run he needed. Now to the straightaway, Stanek P2 with 7 seconds going to be the difference between him and Corey Allen. See if he can maybe reel him in a little bit before the end of this thing, but I think he's going to have a hard time because I don't think Nye is going to let him get away here. These guys, this battle's not done.
Oh, not at all. And the big thing with this is they've got 9 minutes, 50 seconds to just let this battle keep going, which we both know it definitely will as they continue along here. But you can see there that Tyler Stanek is able to really get power in that Mustang, straighten out the chicane there and then just keep the all-important muscle in the Mustang, keep it moving and grooving here. And that introduces problems for Paul Nye, where you now have the very, very fast Brian Medderly back behind, who will continue to be very close and competitive and keep the pressure on as they go along and through. And, you just have to keep that in mind all the way through this race that can happen. And again, I think that's Michelin's on the Corvette. I'm going to keep going back to that, but that looks like Michelin's on that car. We'll see if it gets stationary again, but I can't believe there's Pirelli. I think it depends on if it's an IMSA car or if it's technically under the WEC spec here in iRacing, but that, you know what, that's a podcast topic, and as Corey likes to say, that's a podcast topic, of which this specifically is not, but just know that there will be a podcast one day where I will have a tangent about that. Check it back here in the back. Parker Chiapuzzo is trying to put on some pressure to Nathan Hemperly, as Nathan Hemperly is trying to catch Ethan Murphy. Now, this is the battle for P15 overall, but if you're Hemperly and Chiapuzzo, this is the battle for P2 in AM. So they really want to try to keep this together and keep it moving and grooving as they go. And they're just spread out enough here that I don't know if anything's going to come up with them, but it's good to keep your eye on that battle as they go through.
Yeah, definitely something to keep in your back pocket. Keep an eye on them and, see how it shakes out. 8 minutes going to be remaining. Nathan Hemperly, 32 seconds behind Emily, who continues to pull away. It was 30 seconds last time we checked. He's gone down 2 more in the time since. And I do know there has been some talks amongst the admins about getting Emily moved up to the pro division at some point there, as they are among the class of the field as far as any GT3s, no matter the classification there. But Paul Nye losing some time to Stanek now. Stanek about a second the advantage, and that was somebody going off the track in a GT3. Blue and yellow machine was off into the grass.
That's Santa
I believe that was Kyle. No, I think it was Kyle. The last name is eluding me. In the amateur division.
Kyle O'Grady?
Yeah, I think Kyle O'Grady might have got off the track there. If I saw what I think I saw. I could be wrong, but it was a blue car for sure. There's only so many of those on the track with that shade of blue. Either way, back with Paul Nye. 1.3 seconds the difference now, so Stanek definitely pulling away. And actually, Stanek is reeling in Corey Allen for the race lead little by little, but I don't think it's quite going to be enough time.
Yeah, it's definitely not going to be enough time here, as Paul Nye has to space out for Bob Carey there, who is right near with Eric Mack, but that's a lap difference between those two GTPs as they battle, but still coming through here as Brian Medderly is putting in the pressure on Paul Nye, lay donut guy, as it continues. So really that battle has dropped out from including Tyler Stanek as that's gone through. So you just kind of keep your eyes on that battle for third now in GT3 Pro. In GT3 AM, I mean, there are some good battles coming through as well to keep your eye on. And same in GTP. I mean, in GTP, you got about 5 seconds separating Eric Wineland and Eric Mack, the return of the Mack incoming as we go through and continue that run. Parker Chiapuzzo still trying to chase down Nathan Hemperly, gap separated by 0.6 of a second there as they come through and continue to battle it out here for second place as they are letting GTP traffic navigate them and go through and around. We've had 3 DNFs this race. Colin Bourdon, Andre Wedderburn, and Lamarck Pools, your 3 DNFs. 2 of those here in your AM category. One of them is a GTP of Colin Bourdon, who unfortunately was involved in several incidents throughout the day. Back up front here, Brian Medderly still trying to put some pressure in. I really don't know where to put the camera at this point because there's so many good battles to keep an eye on with them as they go. So I sort of almost feel like I have to jump this camera back and forth a little bit.
Yeah, the GT3 is definitely giving us a few things to keep an eye on as good battles all throughout the field for both divisions. Right now, Brian Medderly doing what he can to hold on or try to run down Paul Nye, who's holding on to third. And Paul Nye, to quote Corey, who may or may not be watching, he's in Alicia Keys mode, Brad. Paul Nye was really looking good. Now he is just falling.
Yeah, if we look at the last 3 laps here for Paul Nye, that's what's really interesting to see. I mean, look at that. 125.5, 126.4, 125.56. So Paul Nye just really losing time here, which is interesting considering that Paul was battling really hard with Tyler earlier on. I got to wonder if that's a case of endurance that's dropping out, if that's a case of just the tires are not there, which is interesting considering that Paul Nye is on lap 15 of his tires. So that is a theory because Tyler Stanek is only on lap 10 for Tyler's tires. So it definitely is possible. Paul Nye was one of the earliest to pit in, but we just kind of keep eyes on it as we look at the fastest lap to his current lap, a 125.0, and current lap is looking on pace to be about a 126.3. So, still losing time for Paul Nye, but keeping Metterly just behind, which is really all he has to do at this point to try to hold on to a podium finish.
Yeah, it's not going to be easy. Metterly is definitely breathing down his neck, making his presence known, but only 3 minutes remaining. That's going to be about 2 laps for these guys. So this lap and the next, if he can really nail them and hit his marks, he should be all right. Have to wait and see. Eric Mack continuing to lose time to Costa, 27 seconds now the gap. So just not quite on pace there, but it's been a good run. Eric Mack has, he's had some unfortunate races lately. I believe he was absent last week. So getting back behind the wheel and running second place is definitely nothing to hang your head about. It's a good run, good point stay. It's just hard to think about that if you're behind the wheel when the leader is, 30 seconds up the road. Although Sector 3, really Costa was faster there, but Eric Mack seeming to gain a little bit the last lap, 117.9 to a 118.2. So maybe getting this place figured out just a little bit too late. Eric Wineland, oh boy, that is going to be Bechtel getting a little bit squirrely there on the brakes and off into the grass, but he's going to get it gathered back up onto the pavement. He'll be all right there in 5th. Big gap back to, well, I'm going to say big gap, but that big gap has disappeared now, only 2 seconds thanks to that spin there.
Coming up near the end of this race here, 1:45 left to go. And the one thing with elbows out, and this is maybe just a me issue here, is that sometimes it feels like we don't get enough racing, as Emily has had a major issue here. Emily spinning through. Let's go get a quick replay of what just happened, because that has cost Emily that big battle up in the front. Let's see here. Here's your replay. So this is Emily coming through, and what was happening there? Well, it was the battle that was going, and then just a hard wiggle there out of the final corner. That final corner apparently is much trickier than I thought.
It is. That banking transition, it really gets you, because not only is it a banking transition, but you're going from regular blacktop to diamond groove tracks. So it's not very easy, but they were sideways before they even ever got to the oval portion. And again, you're right, Brad, it's a tough part of the track, and we've seen a couple incidents there so far tonight. I would say that's probably my 3rd least favorite corner. My least favorite being turn 1, my next least favorite being the fast chicane, and then that section there. Zachary Nerney, who voluntarily stepped down to the GT3s, or maybe we should call him Zachary Larson in that paint scheme. He is running in the top 5 of the Pro Division. Little ways behind Metterly, but you got to give him credit, Brad, for not driving a GT3 in a while. He's been running the GTP. That's what he's used to. This is a big switch up, and it's not an easy track to make the switch, right? This place is tough enough when you're driving a car that you know inside and out, but a brand new piece of equipment on a tough track, he's still running top 5. Not a bad night for Mr. Nerney.
Not at all. As we get the finish here, Antonio Costa wins out here for the Indy 60 here with Elbows Out Racing League. That checkered flag came out at a very particular time, not usually where that tends to come out as it goes through, and just happened to catch him. Perfect timing around the final corner. I mean, you can't really say anything about Antonio Costa other than a 30-second lead when it was all said and done. Corey Allen has the lead by 3 seconds there with Emily's spin, dropping Emily back, but Emily's still leading by a considerable margin over Nathan Hemperly, a lap actually showing as the gap there. Zach Larson, as we are now going to dub him, said that he switched because he's doing more officials in the GT3, so he's going to have more practice and feels he'll be more competitive. And he messaged me that while he's racing. So, I mean, that's got to be considered that he is racing and texting, so maybe he did a good job there as he goes through. Corey Allen will cross the line here to win in the GT3 Pro category here with the iRacing 60 and Elbows Out. And Emily Milke, even with that absolutely obliterated front end of the Porsche, has a considerable margin for the lead. Nathan Hemperly just crossed the line. Emily will be next to cross the line there with Zach Larson behind. And Emily wins the GT3 AM category, coming across the line as we wait for the remainder of our drivers to finish out this race.
Yeah, we'll be waiting a little while. Again, big separation here at Indianapolis, but it was kind of what I expected. For once in this league's history, Brad, this race was exactly what I expected. It was a troublesome circuit for these guys, but the guys who were able to figure it out, they really figured it out, drove away to big leads in every single division, and that is pretty much how it played out. But Indianapolis, some people love it, some people hate it. Either way, iconic location and definitely a race to remember. Some good battles, good action, and definitely, I would say, a unique event. But Antonio Acosta going to take the number 1 position for GTPs. Eric Mack, P2. Eric Wineland, it's the dueling Erics there, P3. Aiden Garcia, the last GTP on the lead lap. Then a lap down, you got Benjamin Bechtel in the 28, Bob Carey in the 280, 2 laps down. Dwight Hibbs came out of pit road and immediately had more issues following it. Unfortunately, going to finish P8, 5 laps down. Colin Bourdon, well, he was 20 laps down, P9.
And then moving on from there, it's the GT3 Pro category. Corey Allen from Florida finds the win there with Tyler Stanek. 2.8 seconds down in the end. Maybe with about 15 more minutes. Could have really had a challenge on that. 10 minutes maybe, but finds second place. Paul Nye, the donut guy. Paul Nye Sr. in third. Brian Medderly in fourth. Zachary Nerney for just now being back at a GT3. And has been racing GTPs, a good run in P5. Good old Zachary Larson, as we'll call him here. Good luck to him on the Indy 500 and the Coke 600. Martin Merkva in P6. Ethan Murphy in P7. Callan Tobin P8. Patrick Rich in P9. Daniel Pinero in P10. And that was all of your GT3 pros. Last but not least, your 10 GT3 AMs here. It was a 30-car field today, 10, 10, and 10. Or actually, no, it was 9, 10, 11. That somehow works out better. Emily Milke from Texas wins out here. A lap up on Nathan Hemperly. Ridiculous pace. With Parker Chiapuzzo in third. Kyle O'Grady in fourth. Christopher Ondera P5. Seth Vosselman in sixth. Matthew Santer-Sierra in P7. Andrew Parker in eighth. Andre Wedderburn in P9. Lamart Pools in P10. And P11, Jonathan Lanton. So that was all of our drivers there. What do you say we go talk to a few drivers here who feel like talking? I see that we've got a good selection, and I think we're going to start with Mr. Indy 500, Coke 600, Indy 60 winner here. One Mr. Zach Nerney, Zach Larson, Zach, whatever you'd like to call him. Zach, good evening, friend. How are you?
I'm doing great. Did you mention that I am running the Indy 500 and Coke 600 tomorrow?
Oh, have we ever mentioned it? It's the only thing
It was
we
all
wanted
we
to
talked
talk
about.
about.
Oh, good.
We've run promos for it. We made a commercial and everything. It's a whole big deal.
Oh, thank you. Whew.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know if we told you that, but we made a commercial here for you, Mr. Zach Larson. But tell me, how does it feel to have this race done and dusted, your first race back in GT3 and a top 5 finish here in GT3 Pro. You got to be feeling pretty happy about that.
Oh yeah, I love it. I'm glad to be back in a GT3. Kind of missed it, to be honest with you. Those GTPs became a handful with this newest update.
Explain by a handful. What is it? Is it the cold tires? What is it that makes them a handful?
It's the cold tires. You can't really accelerate. You can't brake. You always want to lock up your fronts, and it's just overall more of a hassle than it's worth in my mind.
I can respect that, but also I think it'll be interesting just to see how your last few rounds of the season work out, and what sort of competition you could bring. How do you think you're going to do the final few rounds, and how will that set you up for next season?
Well, I'm not too confident in the next couple of rounds. Don't really know Zandvoort all that well, if I'm being honest. Nürburgring is going to be a fun one, and then is it 2 more weeks or 3? That's blanking on me now. That's terrible. But there are exciting things to come next season.
There definitely is. I know there were some announcements made about the next season as well. We didn't cover those in the broadcast. I'm saving those for next round. So, but thinking about, overall picture, Zach, anything you would have changed in this race that you didn't like other than the fact that it wasn't the Indy 500 or the Coke 600?
Yeah, I thought this was going to be the oval, so I think I brought the wrong setup, to be honest with you. That would probably be the only thing I change. But in all seriousness, I would change my second quali lap. If I didn't mess that up, I could have started a lot better and probably had a lot better of a run.
Fair. I can respect that. So before we let you out of the booth here, Zach, anyone you want to thank, anyone you want to shout out, the floor, sir, is yours.
I mean, as always, I love the job you guys do. Thank you for playing along with me doing the Indy 500 and Coke 600. I know I had to pay you guys a lot of money for that, and I'd love to thank Mr. Paul Nye here.
Always thank the boss. That's the smart decision there. You're learning the Kyle Larson lessons early, Zach. Congrats on the top 5 finish here tonight, and we're gonna let you go. Andre, you've caught up with the boss man, but also the P3 finisher in GT3 Pro, Paul Nye, the donut guy.
Mr. Nye, you got a copy?
I do.
Well, Paul, it was a valiant effort. I was really impressed to see you hold on to that third place position, because it was not without contest. Right behind you, P4 was breathing down your neck, and you were able to hold on to it after charging your way all the way through the field. Started a little bit further back. Seemed like this track was pretty good to you compared to some others. How were you feeling?
I'm really happy with the result today. I don't think I had a P3 car. I think I just managed to put the race together there. Tried to hold up Tyler as best I could, but man, his pace was next level today. And Brian and I had a really good fight there. I think the undercut and getting out on newer tires first and being able to throw down some banker laps before he was able to is what really sealed that there. Wasn't really sure how it was going to go with some of the multi-class GTPs coming through that mixed things up a bit, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely looked like a little bit of fun out there in the GT3s, especially this track posing a bit of a challenge. And I got to ask you, because this track is kind of divisive, some people love it, some people hate it. What was your least favorite part of this track, and what was your favorite part?
Least favorite has definitely got to be those last 2 corners. They're very punishing if you don't get them just right. And for me, I feel like it's almost a blind left-hand corner when you're approaching it. Can't really see the apex. It makes it hard to set that one up. And you're moving to the right as you're looking left, so it's a really hard turn to get just right. That's definitely my least favorite spot. But favorite's got to be the turn 3 through 6 sequence there. I think there's a lot of good opportunities to set up passes there, and it makes for a lot of fun racing, in my opinion.
All right, interesting input. Yeah, those last 2 corners, Brad was mentioning in the booth that they really seemed to be more difficult than he thought they were going to be. We had a few incidents in those last couple of corners, and some drivers getting sideways into the wall. issues here and there, but you were able to get through there pretty well. Before we let you go, Paul, is there any shout outs you'd like to make?
Of course, I got to make a shout out for my wife and my 2 kids. They're the reason that I get to do this. They let me take my Wednesday nights away from them to go and be a nerd and play games all night. So couldn't do it without them. Love you guys.
All right. Well, thank you for your time, sir. I'm sure we'll be talking to you again soon.
Thank you, boys.
Unfortunately, Paul gets to talk to me like basically every other day behind the scenes. Of course, being the boss, he gets to put up with me every once in a while, whether he wants to or not. Trying to get Corey Allen to jump up in here, waiting on him to join us here in the booth. He's got the request there. He just has to say hello, and there's Corey Allen coming through. Corey, you win in GT3 Pro in the Pfaff McLaren. How's it feel?
Feels pretty good. My first race in this league, so I'm pretty happy with it, honestly. I love this track. So, and it's the only race I can really do this week, so I guess keep the 100% win streak for this week.
I respect that on so many ways that I can't explain, but I got to ask I'm going to ask you a question that we don't get to ask a lot because it's week 1 and you won in here. How'd you find the league?
I ran in another GC3 league, and one of the members who used to be here decided we were going to switch back over. He was going to switch back over here, and I decided to follow him. So, yeah, that's how I found out about this league. I've always known about this league. I've watched it on YouTube and everything, but I've just never really left my other one. So, I finally decided to branch out and do something different.
Well, it's good to have you here. And Corey, you said that you love this track. Why do you love this track? What is it particular about this track that you like? Because this is a track that I don't know if you heard Andre tell Paul. This is a track that tends to get very polarizing opinions, and you're on the opposite side of a lot of people.
Well, one, it's Indy. So, of course, Indy being Indy. And also, I am a very big fan of North American racetracks. And as someone who races, VIR, Road Atlanta, and everything, you don't really get a nice wide paved surface at those tracks. So it's nice to just have that little bit of runoff area to play with. So when you do make a mistake, it's not going to be 100% punishing on your race, So also, because again, like I said, Indy's Indy, and it is May, so
That's all a very good point. Final thing for you here, Corey. Anyone you want to thank or shout out before we let you go?
thanks to everyone in the VC for helping me figure out fuel, because I almost fueled the car like crazy and was about to change the setup and everything, but they helped me out with getting acclimated to the league.
Awesome, Corey. Congratulations on the win, man. Hope to see you over the next 2 rounds. And if we don't, then we'll definitely be catching up with you here soon.
All right, well, thank you.
All right. Well, Andre, interesting interviews as always. I love the way the interviews go here, that it's not always the winners we interview. We just kind of get to interview the drivers that feel like talking to us, and always some good opinions that they have. So I'm going to ask the question. Next week is Zandvoort. How are you feeling about Zandvoort?
Feeling a lot better about that than I am this racetrack. Zandvoort is usually a track that puts on a really good show. It's a really fun track to drive. I don't care what kind of car that you're in. High downforce, low downforce. It's just a great layout. I'm a big fan. I think it'll be a fun race.
Yeah, of course. 2 more weeks left to go here in this 2025 Season 2 multi-class series and Elbows Out Racing. It's next week is Circuit Zandvoort, which, again, as a self-proclaimed Max Verstappen fangirl, I am a big fan of Zandvoort being anywhere at any time on a schedule. And then, as a reminder, the 4th of June is our final race of this season. And on the 4th of June, it is a 90-minute race. It is not 60 minutes. We throw an extra 30 minutes, and it's the Nürburgring. So just as a reminder, June 4th, 90 minutes, full Nürburgring layout, the green hell, as it is known, because it's going to be interesting to see. But of course, to get there, we got several weeks to get through, lots of special events coming up. Be sure to join us tomorrow night where we'll have the Area Pro Series. And then, of course, next week, all sorts of special events coming up for the holidays of next week. But that's where we're going to send things out here. On behalf of Andre, my name is Brad. We've taken you start to finish. Be sure to join us next time where we'll take you start to finish yet again. Good night.